This is a foot of a blacksmith buddy, but what I'm trying to show you is how much sole sometimes we take out of a horse's foot. How many times have you ever got one down just a little too thin to where you can palpate that sole and feel it give? Well, imagine that horse traveling on that weak sole and then landing on the synthetic material, which acts like a snowball and presses up against the entire sensitive sole. So I've over trimmed it. I've taken too much sole out. Now we're going to cover it. But maybe I have some thrush here or something compromising this frog. I want to leave the frog exposed. So what I'm going to do is I've already shaped a shoe. I'm going to put a pad on here, leave the V out so the frog is exposed, and then we're going to pour this with Vettec material to protect that sole against the footing itself. Alright, normally we would just apply this pad with a couple rivets, but to make sure that we get this frog perfect, we're not going to use the pad at all. We're going to put the shoe on that we've already shaped, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the center of this toe, center of the frog, that way, and I'm going to look across here. I'm going to mark the extreme tip of the frog on both sides, like that. So this intersection right here, I'm going to drill a hole, and then I'll V that pad out. That'll give you an exact fit so that you can get the entire frog out. You don't want to cover up one side of the frog. If you cover up one side of the frog and it gets too much pressure there, it'll pull this frog this direction. Wherever it's getting the pressure, it will pull that frog. So these are the marks that I put on the shoe. Now we'll transfer this over to the pad. We'll bring our heels back where we want them. We're going to mark it here. We're going to mark it there. We're going to mark it here, and then I'm going to mark it exact center of the frog here. So this intersection here is where I'm going to drill my hole, and then I'm going to cut the pad out to fit right here. So I'll use the Farrier product ruler here. Draw my line here. Draw my line here. And this is where I want my hole. Then I'm going to cut this out. I'm going to cut this out. Here, these mean nothing. This means nothing. This means nothing. This is here. We're going to line our marks back up where they were. Here's our inside heel checks. Here's our intersection. Now I'm just going to draw the perimeter of the shoe so we can cut the pad to that. We're going to cut this excess out and this. Alright, I'm going to center punch this, but I'm going to show you how I prefer to center punch mine. I don't use the center. When I'm putting a pad on, I move it toward the inside instead of in the center of the branch. And the reason why I do that is sometimes you want to scotch that shoe off. You want to dress that pad off to fit it. If your rivet is out here and you scotch your pad off on the heel, you'll take your rivet off and your pad will come loose. So what I've done here is I have a square pad, which is great. Doesn't make any difference, just as long as it fits the shoe. To get this to cut all the way around this pad is too big. So if you just notch this all the way into the shoe, where you're going to leave your perimeter of your shoe, as I start around the bandsaw, these sections will come off, and then I can go all the way around. So I've cut my pad. This frog bows a little bit here, little radius to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do since I've got the bandsaw right here, I'm going to just put a small radius on that also, because I want that frog to be pretty exposed. We could take a knife and dress that frog up, but if it's a tender frog or a compromised frog, we don't want to take off any more than we have to. And I'm just trying to be a little bit more exact. So I like that a lot better. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tack this on. I'm going to rivet this first. Then I'm going to tack it on. Then I'm going to use Play-Doh to fill this in, leaving only a hole here on each side. Then we'll have support material under this pad so the pad doesn't give completely, either cave in or come out and get material underneath of it. The whole idea is to keep the new synthetic type material out from underneath of that pad. So now I'll rivet it. I'm going to drill one hole at a time. My first rivet in first to hold this in place. Then I'll drill my second hole. By putting that first rivet in, it keeps this pad from moving around. It's actually a copper slating nail. There we go. I like to tap my rivets in first. Then I'll put this on, but I don't like an 1/8 of an inch. A 1/16 inch is a plenty enough nail to peen over. Doesn't take that much to hold that. But again, you want to make sure the shoe is down. You're going to use the round face of your hammer. And what you want is you don't want this head, the large head, to stick out any farther than the pad. You don't want that to protrude out. So I'll hit this on the sander and make it beautiful and fit very nice. Then we'll nail it on, and then we'll pour. Alright, I've got my shoe fit to where I like it, with my frog exposed, the perimeter of the frog, so I'm not putting pressure on that frog at all when that bends down. And you can, as we're pouring this, we can push it in if we want concavity. You don't have to. So this type of pad is a Diamond Salamander pad. It's not quite 100%, 98% leather and latex. Very flexible, very nice. If I was using this for a full pad, it'd be very easy to push in, concave the sole. We're using it as a V-pad today. Just going to tack it on with a couple nails. Again, check to make sure we clear that frog. The easiest way to do is just push down on it, make sure it's not touching it. That way we get direct support from the material underneath. Now we're going to use some Play-Doh. We're going to just cover the frog is what we're going to do. This is child's Play-Doh. Nothing to it. I make kind of a cone. And what you're going to do is you're just going to fill up that area right there. You don't have to push excess in. You're only wanting to keep the frog covered. And you can do this rather fast. You don't have to You don't have to set the foot down. Again, we're using the blue. It's a little bit firmer. You don't have to use the blue. You can use the pink. If you have a very, very thin sole or a sole that's very pronounced like this one, I would use the blue. It's a little bit better material. It's a little bit more rigid. And that's it. You can use the soft also. Just depends on the foot, the quality of the foot, and what you're wanting to do with it. You can reset or reuse this material if you want. The Play-Doh, we don't. We usually just leave it in the foot. Again, if you have a compromised frog, you have some thrush or some type of bacteria, fungus infection there, this is what you want to do. This will get you out of trouble. Now you've added new sole to that horse's foot. Alright, we've cleaned this up, taken the Play-Doh out. That's not necessary if you don't want. You can put the horse in the stall, it'll come out by morning. But we cleaned it out to show you how much this material gives. You can see the flex in that material. This is softer than its sole, but it's protecting it, not only from the ground, but from the horse pushing it down this way. It has plenty of give, plenty of flex.